I came across this really weird video on X the other day, and it's actually pretty wild. Like, it shows an allegedly possessed woman inside an Orthodox church in Vienna. She's laughing one second, she's hissing the next second, she's screaming and doing all sorts of really bizarre things in front of a set of relics.
Surprise! I too did not think I'd be making another video about Cameron's channel making supernatural claims this soon, but here we are, and for good reason. Now, by the way, I'm not going to continue after this. I don't want it to come off as if I'm bullying Cameron or fixated on his channel. We're going to move on with my normal content, but I think that this is such a good companion piece to the episode that I just put out. If you haven't watched it, it'll help this video make more sense, but it's probably not required viewing. And part of the reason I even want to make this video is because Cameron has improved. I'm hoping he got some really good feedback because he took that video down even before my review of it came out. But there's still some major issues, and so we've got to do this quick because I was preparing for my Sunday video on my lunch break. I was grabbing some comments that we're going to be reacting to, and on my homepage was this video, and I saw it was short, and I said, maybe we can do it. So I'm going to try to film it, edit it, and put it out right now, which means it's coming out like 2 hours after Cameron's. So here we go. We'll just start by talking about how he begins the video. He saw a weird video on X. And I have to call this out because in his last video, when he was trying to help us buy into the claims he was making, he went out of his way to say it's not like it was some lady just posting something random on X.
And notice, this is not some random woman on the internet posting weird body marks, okay, on her X account,
suggesting that that disqualifies the claim. And yet, that is exactly the basis for the claim he's making today. Now, he is being more careful today. Even his title has a question mark at the end, but still, all people see is real demon caught on video. There's an error, I think, here of pseudo-skepticism, and I'm going to continue to point that out with more evidence as we go through the video. It's almost like he's hedging his bets, and again, it is appreciated. It's so much better than just baseless assertions like the last video. The second thing that's nice, though, is that we're working with an actual video and not a photo like in the last set of claims. But I think that's going to work against him because, again, now that we finally have something on video, all that crazy stuff that happens with demonic activity, it's nowhere to be found, but we'll get to that. So I showed you a few seconds of the woman screaming. He lets that play for a bit longer. We can skip that because there's plenty more of it in the rest of the video.
Now, before we watch the full clip, I want to give a quick disclaimer. Okay, not every case that looks like demonic possession actually is. In fact, according to the exorcist that I've personally talked to on this channel, only about 1 in 5,000 cases is the real deal. The rest are usually like mental illness or outright fakery. So take what you're about to see with a grain of salt. And pastorally, like, if you think you might be possessed, you're probably not. Okay, go see a mental health professional first. But even with all of those caveats, this is some still pretty chilling footage. I do need to warn you.
It's a little hard for me to know exactly how to frame this because I don't want to be disingenuous to the improvement that has clearly been made since Cameron's last video. And all I can hope is that someone he trusts pulled him aside and was like, bruh, this isn't it. You missed it. This is scary. This is harmful. You've overplayed it. To which he listened and took it down, but I don't know. So this is Cameron 2.0 when it comes to addressing demonic claims. And I, for one, am very happy with something like, if you think you're possessed, you're probably not. So go and seek mental health help first. Wonderful. Not all the way there because we're still leaving room for this thing that doesn't exist. But in his belief system, this is still progress. And he quotes the stat there that according to priest, exorcist, the community, only 1 in 5,000 cases is real. Well, isn't that interesting then? Why don't you not make a video about this then? After all, it is just some weird claim on X. And with the math like that, by your own admission, it's almost certainly not demonic possession. But instead of leaning into that very clear fact, he dangles the possibility, the what if, the, oh, this is still pretty chilling and wild in front of the audiences. It still could be supernatural, seemingly to keep them watching. Because you know what's really cliche and trite? People suffering mental health issues. It's horrifically sad, but it's not special. It's not thrilling. It's not intriguing in the same way that a demon is. So I think it's a bit of a bait and switch to pretend to be skeptical here while still clearly selling the supernatural. But let's see where it goes from here.
Before we get to that footage, I want to quickly mention our Keep the Lights On campaign. Capturing Christianity runs on donor support. Like every nonprofit, we rely on donorship to keep going. So our goal right now is $15,000. I'm happy to announce we're nearly halfway there. That means though, that we do still need your help. So if you see value in what we're doing at Capturing Christianity, please consider supporting us through the fundraiser. I've got it linked in the description. All right, let's get to this video. This was posted by A. Westgate, and they say, holy relics burn the demons. Let's just go ahead and start this one, and it does start really quick, so just pay attention. So I'm not sure if you heard that. That was like hissing. So that was screaming and then hissing. Laughing. See people doing the sign of the cross. Now, whether or not you think that this is genuinely like demonic possession, or if you think it's mental illness or whatever else, like this is genuinely disturbing stuff, okay? Even if this person is like faking it and trying to cause a scene, like that's still pretty disturbing stuff. So this is why I sent a friend of mine who works in deliverance ministry. I asked them what they thought about this video footage. Is it genuine? Is it not? And so I'll share their thoughts in just a little bit after we finish this.
Okay, so there's kind of two parts here. There's the fundraising and then the first part of the main clip. I brought up the fundraising in the first video, and so I feel like I should say something again here because there's some good things that happened. He did not use the same ammo that he did before, and I want to say that I noticed. He's not saying he did deep research. He's not saying that YouTube doesn't like these videos. That's why you need to help on them, because both of those were blatantly false and obviously so. But he is still interrupting this chilling footage after he's already kind of hooked you in with fear and pairing that fear with fundraising. And that I think feels a little manipulative because there are people who will watch that who feel they're struggling with demons. And Cameron is offering himself as a guide, his channel as a way to help through this. It feels like preying on people. You already made 2 posts about that in the last 2 days. Doing it in this way in this video feels a little bit whatever. As for the second part of this video, we start to get more footage of what is happening. You'll be able to see here much clearer in the clips that follow, but obviously we're hearing someone go through something horrible. Just because they're doing it at a relic site has no bearing on the validity of it being a demon. But it was framed that way. Even the title of the X post, which no, Cameron is not responsible for, says holy relics burn the demons. But you know what seems a lot more likely to me is that someone who believes in the power of these relics, and for the Protestant viewers or the ex-Protestant viewers, you may not have the context for this. So just quickly, without trying to get too sidetracked, there are a lot of these sites, especially in Europe, where you can go and come into contact with the bones or the objects of the saints. Just as one example about how this looks. And you'll see people kind of going through this line, waiting for their chance to touch the relics, see the relics. Usually sometimes they will put their cross or a scarf or something of theirs touching it to literally, this is the belief, transfer the holiness. Now, if that sounds like idolatry, go watch fun Protestant versus Catholic debates. We do see some of this in the Bible, like the bones of Elisha, that even when he was dead, were so infused with the power of God that they brought someone back to life by accidentally touching them. So there is biblical basis for it. And by the way, these churches typically offer these for free. There's kind of a culturally accepted or expected donation that happens with it, which you can always say, well, the option's there to have it be free. But when that's kind of the norm, I think that it can be really harmful for people in need. And so back to my original point, it would seem to me that this lady has the cultural framing of the horrific thing she is struggling with possibly being caused by the enemy. And so she goes to a site where there's holy help. And like we would expect, nothing happens. She doesn't get better. And that would be the important thing. Follow up. And if you can't follow up and prove that she got better by this, then all you're doing is exposing a mentally ill person for your personal profit, which I think is disgusting, and why I said even if this is a step forward, it's also a step back. So it is just her suffering on display being used. You could say, Brandon, you're doing the same thing. I think making a reaction to the fact that that's happening, that's already out there from a channel that's going to get way more attention than mine, is not the same thing. And then the last thing that he says before we move on to the next clip here, and this is where I'm saying that it's kind of this pseudo-skepticism. Oh, well, I'm not sure exactly, so I'm going to reach out to my friend who's in deliverance ministries. Ah, yes, a very objective source. And so we'll cover what he says when we get to that. But moving on to the next part.
It's a bit hard to see. She's like coughing on something. It looks like they're trying to hold her by the relics. And it's causing her to react negatively. Like, it's hard to believe that she's trying to cause a scene. That is a good sentiment. I don't, if you guys are just listening, the comment here on this video says, "Let us pray for this woman in the video." Yes, indeed, please. I mean, no matter what explanation you think explains what you just saw, we need to pray for this person.
In addition to Cameron's commentary, the other thing that's interesting to see here are the comments from the original person who posted it on X. That Christ is more powerful, that the saints want to help, and yet we don't see this woman get any help. Shoving her down and holding her by these holy items to transfer their power into her, to cast out supernatural beings that have somehow been able to possess her body, is not help. It's actually abuse. It's actually a direct impediment to real help. Now, the next thing that Cameron is doing here is he starts trying to rationalize. Like, it's hard to believe that she's just trying to cause a scene. Because remember, we start with a few guesses here. There's demonic possession on the table, though unlikely. There's mental health issues, and there's fakery. So here he is trying to rule out the fakery. And then he says, yeah, you know what, a good sentiment, no matter what's going on, is let's pray for this person. But to what end? Truly, I understand this is their belief, that prayer works. But you have holy fathers right there, pressing her against these holy relics in a holy place. Protestant might chirp in and say, yeah, but where's the Son of God? Where is Christ? That's what she really needs. That's why it's not working. But we're going under the Catholic beliefs here. If you think this woman is possessed, then how has this not yet helped? You're just going to move the goalpost down the line, kick that can down the road, and say that, oh, they need an official exorcist, or they need a certain round of exorcisms like we heard in the first video where it took 3 exorcism happenings before it took. It's just the silliest, stupidest, and again, most harmful claims. This woman needs medical and mental health attention. And that was actually a weird comment that I got on the video quite a few times. The last one was, why do you care? Who cares if these people want to believe in fairy tales? Look what it leads to. In any other context, if this woman was breaking down in the middle of a grocery store or at her grandchild's school play, people wouldn't just shove her face up against something and expect for it to get better, which is what is happening here. By Cameron's own admission, they would call for help, real help. So the superstitions of the church, of the religion, truly 100% get in the way of that help. And also, yes, these kinds of disturbances happen to people all the time and everywhere. Picking one that happens out around your holy relics only makes it look that much worse when they can't do what they're supposed to do. Transfer the holiness. Moving on.
So I told you while we were watching the clip that I reached out to someone who works in deliverance ministry, someone who literally trains exorcists, and I asked them what they thought about this footage. Here's what they told me, and this is a direct quote. Of course, you cannot make a 100% sure judgment either way. I think it looks typical and is likely real. There is no one thing to point to. It just fits with what we see. Now take that for what it is. Okay, this is coming from someone who spent years in the ministry and has seen dozens, if not hundreds of cases. They're not calling it definitive. They're just saying it's likely, but with a giant asterisk. And I think that that's actually probably where we should start this conversation.
That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. We can't know 100% either way. And even though this supposedly only happens 1 in 5,000, you showed me this one random clip of a woman having a breakdown of some kind, and I don't have anything I can point to particularly. It just seems to fit. Again, this is the level of intellectualism, of skepticism that we're getting from Cameron's channel and the people he seeks out for help. And again, what a harmful statement, because you're still trying to sell the supernatural here, despite all of your pseudo-skepticism. It's even right there in the quote from this guy. Oh, we can't know for sure, but by the way, I think it is, and here's why. Either people have no idea how many people are mentally unwell in the world, or they're straight up charlatans, because there's nothing in between here. If you're going to say that this is most likely, almost certainly, demonic possession, then your 1 in 5,000 means nothing anymore, because this looks a lot like a normal mental health issue. So which is it? Are we being skeptical? Are we being cautious? Are we just being curious? Or do we really not care about all of that? And anytime it suits us or benefits us, we're just going to say, evidence of the supernatural, which, don't forget, was the whole point of the first video. The supernatural realm exists, and therefore, based off how my very small sample size of where it happens in westernized Christian countries happens to get relief sometimes under Christian rights, that means my Christian God is true. Again, if you haven't seen my first video, you need to watch it, because the dishonesty there was unbelievable, which is why it's hard just a couple days later to take Cameron seriously here with some of these pushways. By the way, one of the things that Cameron did in the first video was he said, you would think someone is grifting or pulling a hoax if they made big, crazy claims. And since the exorcist he was talking about in that video was saying he's never seen a levitation, that was proof to Cameron that he was being honest. So now we have Cameron doing that. The same kind of little pushaways. Like, I'm not saying this. He's not making the big claims he made last video where yellow jaundiced eyes definitely means demons. He's being more cautious. He's doing that pushaway. So does that mean last video he was that trickster? And this video is him wising up, playing it a bit more safe? This is what I mean. It's really messy and ugly when you consider what we saw in that first video.
My take is that we cannot rule out fakery or mental illness here in this video that we just watched. As intense and unsettling as the behavior that we just saw is, like laughing 1 second, hissing the next second, screaming the next. There's nothing in this clip though that shows something naturally impossible. Okay, we're not seeing levitation. We're not seeing eyes go completely black. We're not watching objects materialize out of thin air. We're not seeing like perfect, fluent recitations of ancient languages that the person couldn't possibly know. Those are the types of things that if we saw those on video, they have to push you in the direction of, okay, something preternatural, something supernatural is happening here.
Okay, so this part's fascinating to me because it's kind of a self-own. He's demolishing his own point. Why then did you make a video about this if only 1 in 5,000 are real and we don't have any evidence that, even according to your last video, we should be seeing if it was a real demonic possession? Isn't it interesting that once you show video evidence of these demonic happenings, we don't see any of the demonic happenings that were in the made-up stories with the ridiculous photos attached like last time? It's kind of like once you stop taking pictures or altering pictures or finding pictures online and you actually record an event, those things don't happen. In both cases, he's just shot himself in the foot. In the first video, we only have these ridiculous images and assertions and stories. So we say, video it. So his next video, he shows us a video, but it doesn't have any of the things that he claims happen from the stills. In both cases, you've shown zero evidence of demonic possession.
According to exorcists themselves, genuine demonic possession is already extremely rare. As I mentioned earlier, only 1 in 5,000 cases. So if we're honest with ourselves, the most probable explanation in this case that we just saw is not the rarest explanation. Okay, it's more likely that this is a highly disturbed individual, very highly disturbed. Even if you think they're faking it, that's disturbing. Whether that's due to a psychiatric condition, whether it's due to substance abuse, this is a very disturbed individual.
So why'd you make the video, right? You brought us along the whole time. Maybe it is, maybe it is. Look where it's happening. Look how it's happening. And then at the end, he seems to suggest it's probably not. It's probably just mental illness. So then again, what is the point of the video other than profiting off of her illness? You just can't have your cake and eat it too.
Now, that doesn't mean that we just dismiss all of this and move on since we have figured out what we think about this. If this is mental illness, then this woman needs real professional help, and she can also use our prayers, okay? She probably also needs help from a mental health care provider and a priest. If it's fakery, she probably still needs help. People don't fake this type of stuff and get attention that way normally. But on the other hand, if it is demonic, then she absolutely needs spiritual intervention, obviously, right? If she is demonically possessed, she needs spiritual intervention. But in all three cases, ignoring it doesn't do anyone any favors.
The only way that it gets ignored is when people think it's demonic. When you raise people up and indoctrinate them that there is this secret, supernatural, really incredibly more real realm than ours of spiritual warfare, and that these demons care so much about you personally and stealing your soul to hurt God, affecting you, causing you harm, that whenever that happens, it needs to be one of these three possibilities. No, it doesn't. Even when he's so close to being honest about this, he's still saying even if it was just mental health issues, she still needs not only mental health help, but also a priest. Why? And if it's demonic, she definitely needs spiritual help. She's getting it. I don't see any improvement. Why do we keep having to insert this third category that we have no evidence for and that we see no actual help from? That's religion. That's the issue and the harm and the problems with religion.
So this is one of those situations where discernment is absolutely crucial. As Christians, we don't want to be gullible. Okay, we don't want to believe just anything that we see on the internet. We also don't want to be hardened skeptics who don't take the supernatural or preternatural seriously. Okay, the truth is often somewhere in the middle. It's somewhere in between. So we got to keep our eyes open. We got to ask good questions, and we cannot let emotions or sensationalism drive our conclusions.
What is in the middle between true demonic possession and fakery or a non-issue? I'll tell you what's in the middle. Real mental health issues, right? If there's demons there, I'd admit that's the problem. But again, zero evidence for the demons. So we still just keep attaching something and acting like we have nuance here, that we shouldn't just believe anything we see after he just made a 20-minute video days ago stating facts about random pictures from a motivated exorcist. Again, this might mean more if he used himself as the example from the last video about why we need to be more careful. But instead, it just looks like pure hypocrisy. But that's it. I got to get back to work. Have a great day. I'll see you Sunday with the video I plan to make, which is a reply to the comments I got on my Old Testament walkthrough of Satan. Until then, keep thinking. I wanted to personally thank my top tiers of support, my Iconoclast, Ann, Boris, Grant, GVI, Jimmy, Joe, Kitboga, Matthew, Perry, and Shawn, my Humanist heroes, Craig, James, Jarrod, Kristi, and Matthew, my Atheist advocates, Aquitar, Caleb, Dan, David, Drew, Jeff, Jeffrey, Julie, Malcom, Paul, Sparky, and Thomas, as well as all of my secular scholar patrons. If you believe in the mission of this channel, please consider joining these fine people.